the medicine. It's the medicine to fix
the bread and butter.
Yeah, it really is. It's transformed my life. I've been able to give up alcohol, drugs, overcome childhood trauma because it literally fix everything. It fixes depression and anxiety. I don't take any medication anymore. It's transformed my life. It is the medicine to fix those self-limiting beliefs, that imposter syndrome, anything that's keeping us stuck in the past.
I mean, my brain these days is a very kind place to me, to be honest. But it definitely wasn't, even just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to my teens, it was a very hostile place to be. I am a massive advocate of meditation. So if people don't meditate, I would highly recommend.
Yes, meditation is it's the medicine. It's the medicine to fix
the bread and butter.
Yeah, it really is. It's transformed my life. I've been able to give up alcohol, drugs, overcome childhood trauma because of meditation. I'm a better person. I've changed my vibration, my reality, all through meditation. That gateway experience that you shared with me with the Monroe Institute. Oh my God. What the hell? Our minds are so fucking powerful. Meditation can literally fix everything. It fixes depression and anxiety. I don't take any medication anymore. It's transformed my life. It is the medicine to fix those self-limiting beliefs, that imposter syndrome, anything that's keeping us stuck in the past. It's transformative. And I'm blue in the face telling people to meditate, and it's just it's the miracle cure. It really is.
People don't get it, do they? I think, and it almost seems too simple, doesn't it? All you have to do is lay, be in your body, observe your thoughts. That's why it's so important, because what I didn't realize for most of my life is that I did think I was my thoughts. There was no space between me and my thoughts. I just took on my thoughts as that being me. And meditation, regular meditation, makes you super detached from your thoughts. You're so aware that they are not you. They are just thoughts, like little, clouds or balloons or whatever. They pop up and my brain these days is a very kind place to me, to be honest. But it definitely wasn't, even just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to my teens, it was a very hostile place to be. I spent most of my time in it, and that's what depression is, I think. Social anxiety is spending all your time in your head thinking everybody's thinking about you. It's so egotistical. A lot of it, it's everything's about me.
And no one cares. Everyone is too busy with their own lives. There's no one actually paid attention, really,
Yeah, but it's so powerful, meditation.
For those, people are I can't quiet my mind, I can't release certain thoughts. When I first started doing meditation, I couldn't relax the mind at all. So I started doing reprogramming meditations while I slept. So you literally press play and go to sleep. These meditations helped me to rewire my brain so that I was then able to do mindful meditation, and actually shut down my thoughts. So if anyone is scared to meditate or can't relax the mind, look for sleep meditation or subliminals, binaural beats on YouTube. You literally press play and go to sleep. This will work for you unconsciously until you're ready then to actually do, quieten those thoughts.
Yeah, and there's like you mentioned, binaural beats is another one, because I struggled myself with meditation. I could only do meditations that were quite heavily guided because if I didn't have something to concentrate on, if I wasn't told to concentrate on my breathing or to feel the temperature of my feet or whatever, if I didn't have that, then I would be back in my head. And there's certainly a place. I think that guided meditations are very good, but I also think that the most powerful is being able to be in silent, well, not silence because I use binaural beats, but in periods of nothing, of just being, where you're not even being spoken to, and you know, you're not being guided through it, but you're not really coming up with any thoughts yourself. And it's very, very, very hard to explain what that is, because it's kind of, it's not a nothingness.
It's
but
so peaceful, isn't it? It's a calm serenity.
Yeah. And I was doing the gateway meditation, and I got to, there's the ones on focus 15, I think it's wave 5 or something, and there's one where it's largely nobody, you know, you're not really being guided and you're just kind of exploring. And I just fell in love so much with that feeling of pure tranquility.
Yeah.
That's when I was doing two, like, I think the 35-40 minutes meditations a day. And I remember whenever, like, in the meditation, it'd be you would coming back to focus 10, and I'm like, I've got to show gratitude, which is, I love to show gratitude because I know how powerful that is, but I'm always like, it's over. I don't want to come back. I'm just like, how deep floating. So
it's like a feeling of being on drugs, and you don't want to come back down off that high. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. I cannot recommend it enough. And the gateway meditations are amazing.
Yeah.
If you can't get whole gateway meditations, you can get them on YouTube. But the Monroe Institute has a app as well, and they use the same technology. So binaural beats, you can get binaural beats meditations just generally on YouTube, but I believe the Monroe Institute uses some other sound techniques as well that make it slightly more powerful. So I think
I must look into that app, because I keep seeing Monroe, that name, everywhere, and I know there's a sign in it. Like, every time I see it on a program or something, I'm like, I need to look into that more.
Yeah.
So I might actually get the app.
Expand. I think it's like £60 for all of it, but it's like, you can put an hour of focus 15 on, or you can put an hour of focus 21 on, and it's not guided. You can just choose to have like rain sounds over the focus music. It hasn't got the full gateway style, but it's got big.
I love the way it talks into separate ears and stuff, you know. I'm stuck in, like, when I first started as well, he was like, you need to hear me in your right ear. I actually had to switch my headphones. Now, maybe that's because they're a cheap pair of headphones, I don't know. But I also thought maybe it's because the society, the matrix, doesn't want us to hear things right.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So meditation, but even any kind of meditation, I would highly recommend.
Yeah, and meditation doesn't have to be any kind of guided meditation. Even if you do a bit of gardening or a bit of artwork or a bit of anything that makes you just release, like, so, you know, exercise or any kind of training or anything that makes you feel peace, where your mind isn't actually working, where you're not thinking other thoughts, where you're like zoned into this actual project or this actual, you know, creativity or something. That's a type of meditation as well. So for people who aren't used to meditation, just any kind of creative act is a form of meditation as well.
Yeah. Also breath work. That's another good one that can be kind of sort of mindful, because you're concentrating so much on the rhythmic breathing that you're out of your head.
I get amazing breakthroughs through the pictures. You know, we do pictures, breath work every day. And I did one again last week. Like, literally, the breakthroughs around my heart blocks to be profound after a breathwork session. Really, and it's so enlightening how your breathing can release such heavy blocks. So that can help with your imposter syndrome as well, to release those limiting beliefs as well.
Yeah, that I would love to do a full length one. So it was. Was it?
I shared. Do you remember the one I shared with you? Before we did the one, that's actually Victor as well.
Oh,
but it's
the same as that one.
But it's the longer version, so you get more from it. So to do that one, because I did that one the week before, and from that one I was just like, and I've done that one. You'd only want to do that one once a month, I'd say, because it's like, I've had full body convulsions, shakes, my hands cramp up like this and everything. And you get tinglings all down your face and your arms and hands and everything. It's amazing. But the blocks that come through, the breakthroughs afterwards, it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, because sometimes I get, I find it difficult. Like I have to be super, super relaxed, and not really having many thoughts to be able to see vividly. You know, like sometimes when you're in meditation, you get information that's really vivid. It's almost like a dream. I really struggle with that. I only get it very, very rarely. I get messages or clarity, but with that one that we did, that Victor breathwork thing, I definitely got like a very clear vision of something. It was actually about doing shorts. You know,
Really
not
good.
but like, you know, like shorter stuff to and I was like, maybe that is a block of mine. Maybe that's something I'm shying away from. And yeah, which just popped to the front of my mind, but it was so vivid. It was like a movie. Do you know what I mean? And it was just an instant, but it was like, yeah, it's interesting.
Like I like even the one I did last week now, you know, I'd actually be screaming out releasing stuff. You know, every breath out would be a scream. Do you know, it just, you know that there's tension in your body and just release it. And then that's when the epiphany, it's epiphanies. It's like an epiphany that comes through afterwards. And a lot of times they can come during it or afterwards, or you can see colours and stuff, but it really does open you up to your next steps, like, it really does.
Yeah, and actually, doing like Wim Hof style breathing, so that's not as long, it's not to music, but it's where you do like 30 quick breaths, very deep breaths, and then you breathe out and you hold on the out breath for quite a long time, to the point where you're like, I need to breathe. It's interesting. There's like a wall, you know, like people talk about when you're jogging, you hit your wall, but if you push through it, then it's not so difficult. It's the same with a breath hold. Like you'll get this feeling, you're like, oh, I need to breathe. And you're like, I don't think I can hold it any longer. And then you seem to just pass through that. And then you're like, actually, I can hold it. And then that's when you start to get the tingly hands and the tingly toes.
It's the same with Kundalini yoga. You're leaving your hands to be up above your head like this for fucking nearly 3 days. And you're like, why do I can't do it? But if you stay going and stay going, you just start to feel it all through your body. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm quite new to breath work. I've just started implementing it into my week morning practice. So I get up at 5:30 now, and I do I was doing my meditation at bedtime, but it wasn't working. So I was like, right, 5:30, I get up, I do a meditation, and then I do my breath work before, and then I make my bed and get up. And I've got it on my habit tracker on my mirror, because that's the only way I can make myself do stuff these days. But it means that I get out of bed and I go downstairs and I can already tick 3 things off, because I've done my meditation, I've done my breath work, and I've made my bed. I'm like, yay! Already on a win. So
yeah. And that becomes habit. Once you do everything at the same time every morning, it's just like breathing.
Yeah.
Do you know, it comes naturally then. You know, it really does.
Yeah. I didn't realize how powerful breath work is, but the research says that if you do that 30 breaths of, can't remember who said this, some influencer online, that says the science behind it is that it changes it takes the acidity out of your body or something. You do like 30 breaths and a breath hold, then you do 30 breaths and a breath hold, and then 30 breaths and a breath hold, and then you breathe normally. And that, because you're of that type of breathing, it changes like the oxygen in your, like how much oxygen is in your tissues. It takes away acidity in your body, and apparently it can extend your life by about 7 years if you do this practice, just because oxygen in your body is so important for healing, that if you're forcing oxygen into your brain by this crazy breathing that you wouldn't normally do, you know, it helps you heal your body, because your body's an amazing thing. I think we don't give it enough credit. Like if you give it the right conditions, it will heal itself. If you are getting enough restorative sleep, if you are putting the right things in your body, if you are being kind to your brain and not being high stress, if you're getting yourself out in nature, if you're grounding yourself, you know, if you're breathing properly, you're capable of increasing your immunity and healing your body.
100%. Like I used to drink, I used to smoke, I used to eat bad, I used to take drugs, I used to get no exercise, I used to barely go outside the door, and how I survived or how I didn't die of dehydration was beyond me because I barely drank water. And now I'm eating healthily, I'm doing all these mindful things, and I feel so much younger than I did in my 20s.
Yeah.
I actually feel younger, I feel more alive, I look better, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I look back at photographs and like, you know, I have this chubby face and I'm like, wow, I look so unhealthy.
Yeah.
Not even that I look bad, I looked unhealthy.
Yeah.
And we can literally add years to our lives just by taking that little bit of care.
Yeah.
You know, our whole lives were conditioned into those unhealthy habits, and like, how they ever survived? Well, I suppose the lifespan was actually a lot lower back in the day, like.
But
You know, but it is.
there's so many worse things now, I think, because we're generally more affluent, the standard of living is much higher. We are comforting ourselves into an early grave, like keeping ourselves warm all the time. You know, eating as much food as we want is not good for us. It's you better to be a little bit on the starving side than you are on the obese side. Like,
yeah, in Japan they eat till they're 80% hungry or 80% full. They'll never actually fill themselves up, and this way it keeps them healthier. Like the way they live in Japan, I was reading that book about Ikigai. It's your life purpose, and like the way they live, it's like they're so much healthier. Their lifespan is so much longer. They're youthful. They look younger whole lives. And it's because they're not overfeeding, they're not doing those bad habits that we've been, you know, learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, oh yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. There's a lot of hidden things in food as well, isn't there? You know, like diet. There wasn't so much fast food and things. So I think even though people's life expectancy, well, if you look at is it the boomers? They're all doing really well, aren't they? But is it the boomers? Or was it
I have no idea.
Yeah, there's a generation. I think it was the war generation, but they all lived well into their lived longer, but that's because they had rations. So they didn't spend ages eating, you know, they didn't have a lot of sugar and they didn't have a lot of milk available. Whereas, you know.
Yeah, I don't think we're actually supposed to have dairy after a certain time in our lives. Because even when I went from full fat milk to low fat milk years ago, and I tried full fat again, it made me feel sick, you know, as if I was intolerant. And I've actually become intolerant to dairy over the last couple of years, and that's why I went vegan. But like, I don't think we're actually supposed to eat dairy after a certain point in our lives. Like,
well, no, some cultures can't, can they? They are naturally intolerant.
Yeah, I think it's just because we got immune to the intolerance because we drank so much of it.
Yeah.
Do you know, we used to drink milk straight out of the cow on the farm now, do you know what I mean? Like, so we were getting the purest of the pure. And now I can't even eat cheese or dairy anymore. But like, I just don't think our bodies are supposed to tolerate dairy, and it's just that we keep putting it into our system.
My sister's lactose intolerant, or sensitive, certainly. So she doesn't have milk now, but she used to, and she did realize that she didn't feel great, but it got much worse when she stopped and let her body heal. When she wasn't constantly poisoning herself, and then she stopped, and then she tried it again, and then it was much worse. And I guess it's because her body, she wasn't used to poisoning herself with it, basically. But one thing she said to me, which has always stuck with me, is that milk is not meant for humans. It's meant to turn little cows into full-size cows, right? That's what milk is for. It can turn a small cow into a fully grown cow, right? So that's not good for you, is it? You know, like we don't need to be as big as a cow, so don't have milk. So I do still have a bit of milk actually in my brews, but
I use soy milk now for my cereal. You know what I mean? And that works for me.
Oh,
and the cat
milk's lovely.
likes it as well, so it must taste like chicken probably.
Right. Oh, let's see what time we're on. Oh, look, we're at 50 minutes.
Sorry, Jesus, time flies.
What was I going to say? Oh, one thing I was going to mention is Ed, who is I'm in a group expert coach, and I do regular training with Ed, and he's posted recently on his reels about imposter syndrome, and he said, which I think is really interesting, that they've done some research, and that the more successful that you are, the more you're likely to feel like a fraud. And he said that's because that feeling is you updating your self-image. And so that's kind of what we were saying before, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you're in that transitionary period, so it doesn't mean you're not where you should be. It just means, like, give yourself a bit of time, let you find your feet.
Exactly.
It'll be fine. Yeah,
just be patient with yourself, because in fairness, as I said, we're becoming our true selves. We're shedding the false self. So just have patience. Don't go back to the false self, because that place, once you get a little bit further anyway, you can't go back. There isn't a way but forward. So you just have to kind of overcome that little bit of fear and self-limiting beliefs and just push ahead, because there is only one direction to go in there. Once you get that little one step forward, there's only one direction, and that is up.
Yeah, and I think that it's often you get stuck at this point where you have to make a leap, isn't it? You know, it's like when I got stuck where I'm like, I need to get my face online if I'm going to be a coach. And so it was like you're stuck at that leap. It's like, but I don't want to, but I don't. And then you just have to do it, and then you're sailing at the other side. So it's take that leap.
Yeah,
leap of faith.
Like, I never ever thought I would be a content creator, video wise, ever. And now I look back and I can't remember the time when I wasn't.
Yeah,
because it is me now, and it fits me, like.
Yeah. Be something and the universe catches up. That's my favorite.
It is. I love that. Yeah. Embody. Like, I did a video I called it "Fake It Till You Make It," and I don't mean that in an inauthentic way. I mean, embody your true self before you become your true self, and you will become your true self quicker.
And what I love about it is it makes sense in any way you look at it. So you can look at it from the spiritual sense, like, you were talking there about manifestation, or it talks about, like, you have to have the energy and the feeling of what you want. You shouldn't want it. You be the person that has that thing instead of wanting.
Act as if it's already yours. Embody it as if it's already happening, because that will create it quicker.
Yeah.
Do when we're not embodying it, we're thinking, how can I do this? What if I don't fit? How will I ever be that person? That's going to propel it. It's going to delay it. Whereas just believe it, and that's what it is. Visualize. Your imagination can create your reality. Literally visualize the outcome you want. Feel it as if you're already living it, and boom, it happens.
And it happens, yeah. And even if you don't believe in the spiritual sense and the manifestation and all that kind of stuff, if you're like, don't believe in that, it's a load of rubbish, then if you still look at it logically, it still makes sense. Like, because if you are being something, if you are doing the actions of, often we do things, we think backwards. We're like, when I've got this thing, then I'll be that person. And it's like, no, you need to be behaving in that way to get the things of that person. Yeah. Exactly. So it makes sense. I mean, I believe in the spiritual side of things, but I know that not everybody will, but it still makes sense. Makes sense.
And in fairness, the law of attraction isn't wholly spiritual. It's actually scientific. It's like the law of gravity. Like attracts like. So there is actually a scientific explanation for manifestation. So for people who don't believe in spirituality, there is scientific proof behind the law of attraction. You will attract what you like, the law of abundance, the law of assumption. These are all scientific laws. You can become your reality by embodying it. So we don't have to be spiritual to actually attract what we want.